Welcome to Litbit channel. Today we will see English language studies. First unit, fundamental concept of language. Let's see what is language. Language is a system used for communication that allows human to express their thoughts, feelings and ideas. It can be made up of words, sounds, gesture or signs, and through elements are combined according to rules to create meaning. There are various forms of language like spoken, written and signed, all of which follows a specific structure or grammars. Language plays a crucial role in connecting individuals within a society and enables us to share knowledge, experience and emotion. Next concept, origin of language. The word language comes from the Latin word lingua, which means tongue or speech. This reflects the ideas that the language is closely tied to the physical act of speaking or using the tongue to form sounds. Lingua comes from an even older language family called Proto-Indo-European, and the root of his word in tongue. This ancient root is the source of the word for tongue in many languages, showing the universal connection between the organs of speech and communication. In the evaluation of language in late Latin, linguisticus was used to describe something related to speech. The French borrowed this term as language, meaning speech or dialect. The word then made its way into Middle English around the 13th century as language and continued to develop into the modern meanings we use today. A system of communications, this etymology shows how the concept of language has always been deeply connected with the physical act of speaking and how over time it comes to represent the more abstract system of communication that on today. Let's see definition of language. Language is a tool or system used by humans to communicate with each other. It is made up of symbols which can take different forms such as sounds, written words or gesture. These symbols are used to convey meaning, so when we speak or write, we use language to share our thoughts, ideas, feelings and information. The key to language is that it is structured. This means that there are rules that govern how we use these symbols. For instance, in spoken language, the order of words, the sounds of letters, and even the way we intonate sentence all follow certain patterns or rules in grammar. Grammar helps make sure that the symbols we use are understood in the same way by different people. Language is crucial for human interaction and culture. Without it, we wouldn't be able to communicate or experience, share knowledge, or connect with others. It allows us to build relationship, work together, and create a shared understanding of the world around us. Let's see the next concept, functions of language. First one is communication. The primary functions of language is to convey information, thoughts, feelings and ideas between people. Whether it's through spoken words, writing or even gesture, language allows individuals to share whatever on their minds. This is the basic and most essential role of language, enabling communication. For example, when you tell someone, I am feeling happy today, you are using language to convey the emotion. Similarly, when you describe an event like it's raining outside, so you are sharing information through language. Next one is expressions of identity. Language serves as a tool for expressing who we are, our cultural, social and personal identity. The way we speak often reflects where we come from, the group we belong to, and even our individual personality. This can be seen in regional dialects, slang, and professional jargons. For example, someone from the southern United States might say why all instead of you all. It reflecting regional identity in a professional medical terms that someone outside the fields might not understand. showing how language expresses professional identity. Next one is social interaction. That is, language is crucial for building and maintaining relationship. It helps us interact with others, expressing emotions and cooperate. Through language, we can greet people, make us to offer help, or simply have a conversations. It also essential for expressing empathy, support, and understandings, which strengthens social bonds. For example, when you met a friend and say, "How are you?" or when you express support with, "I'm sorry you are feeling this way," you are using language to nurture social connections and communicate emotion. Next one is thinking and cognition. Language is deeply connected to how we think. It is not just a tool for communications but also a medium for reasoning, solving problems, and making decisions. Through language, we can organize our thoughts, plan our action, and store and recall memories. Language helps us understand abstract concepts, analyze situations, and think critically. For example, when you solve a math problem, simply talk through the step to yourself, using language to help organize the process. Similarly, when recalling a memory, you often describes it to yourself in your words to make sense of it. Next one is imaginative and cognitive use. In this one, language is also a powerful tool for creativity. It always humans to express imagination, create art, and entertain through storytelling, poetry, jokes, and other forms of creative writing. Language enables us to explore different worlds, evoke emotions, and communication abstract idea. For example, a writer uses language to craft a fictional story, painting pictures in the minds of readers. A comedian uses language to tell jokes and create humor. Even through song, lyrics, poetry, and art, language is used to create something new and imaginative. Four theories of language. First one is the divine origin theory, the natural sound theory, the social interaction theory, the gesture theory. Let's we see first one, the divine origin theory. The divine origin theory suggests that language was a gift from a divine or supernatural source. This theory holds that a higher power, such as God, gave humans the ability to speak and communicate. It assumes that a language didn't evolve naturally but was bestowed upon humanity by a divine entity. Let's we see the example. In the Judeo-Christian tradition, the Bible mentions that God gave Adam the power to name the animals. This act of naming could be seen as a form of language, implying that the ability to speak was a divine gift. Similarly, in Hinduism, the goddess Saraswati is associated with knowledge and speech, further linking language to divine influence. Let's we see the criticism. While the divine origin theory is important in religious and cultural context, let's we see the criticism of this theory. While the divine origin theory is important in religious and cultural context, it provides empirical or scientific evidence to explain how language developed in biological or evolutionary terms. It's more of the theoretical or mythological perspective and does not offer a practical explanation of languages origins based on observations or experimentation. Next one, the natural sound theory. This theory posits that language originated from humans imitating natural sounds. According to this theory, early humans mimicked the sounds of animals, objects, or environmental noises, gradually associating them with a specific meaning. These imitations becomes the foundations for words and communication. For example, onomatopoeia words like meow, buzz, and clung support this theory. These words are created to imitate the noises associated with the actions or things they describe, which suggests that early language may have started from similar imitations of natural sounds. While onomatopoeia words exist in many languages, the majority of words are not derived from sounds they represent. This theory doesn't adequately explain the creations of abstract concept or the development of complex structure like grammar and syntax. Most languages use a much wider range of words than just those that they are imitative. Next one, the social interaction theory. The social interaction theory suggests that language evolved from the sounds produced during social activities that required cooperation. Early humans made rhythmic sounds while engaging in tasks like working together to hurt, lift objects, or coordinate efforts. Over time, the vocalizations become more structured and developed into language. For example, imagine early humans working together to hurt large animals or to carry heavy objects. To synchronize their movements, they may have made grunts or rhythmic vocalizations. These sounds eventually became more organized and evolved into words and sentences. Even today, humans use chants or songs to help coordinate group tasks, which made reflects these early social connections in language development. Let's see the criticisms. Also, these theories make sense for some aspects of language, such as the coordinations of movements or tasks. It doesn't fully explain how abstract language or symbolic communications came into being. It also doesn't account for the intricate structures and grammar found in modern language, which go beyond simple cooperations and task related sounds. Let's we see the gesture theory. It proposes that early human communications was primarily based on gesture, hand movements, body language, and facial expressions before the development of vocal language. Over time, humans may have transitioned from using gesture to producing sounds as their primary form of communication. For example, today sign languages like American Sign Languages rely heavily on hand gestures and facial expressions to convey meaning. Some scholars believe that these sign language are akin to the early stages of human communication. Additionally, in spoken language, we often use a hand gesture to emphasize or clarify speech, suggesting that gestures have always been integral to human interaction. In criticism part, while gestures are an important part of communication, the gesture theory is struggling to explain why vocal language eventually overtook gestures as a primary form of communication. It also doesn't fully address how abstract concepts and complex structures like grammar were incorporated into spoken language. So, each of these theories provides a four different perspectives on the origin of language, and no single theory offers a complete explanation. Language likely evolved through a combination of biological, social, and cognitive factors. Human probably used gesture. Transitioning to vocalizations and sounds were likely used to communicate in early social activities. Over time, these various elements came together to form the complex system of language we use today. The development of language likely involves a mix of these factors, reflecting its multi-phased nature. Let's we see the next concept, design features of language. The design features of a language refers to core character that distinguish human language from other forms of communication, such as those used by animals. These features help explain how language functions as a system of communication. Let's we see the first one, arbitrariness. It refers to the fact that there is no inherent natural connection between the sounds of a word and the meaning it represents. The link between a word's forms and its meaning is based purely social conventions and arguments, not only any inherent connection. For example, take the word dog. The sounds of the word dog has no natural reason to be associated with the four-legged animals it represents. In French, the same animal is chien, and in Spanish it is called perro. The relationship between the word and the animal is arbitrary, and other languages use entirely different sounds for the same concept. Next one, discreteness. Discreteness means that language is made up of separate, distinct units that can be combined in different ways to form meaning. This unit can include sounds, words, and even larger structures like sentence. Each unit has its own functions, and changing one part of a unit can create a completely new meaning. For example, consider the word cat and bat. These words differ by just one sound, but changing that one sound creates a completely different words with a different meaning. This shows how small, discrete unit of language can be rearranged to form new words or sentence. Next one is productivity. It refers to the ability of language to generate an infinite number of new sentences and expressions. Even though we have never heard some sentence before, we can still create them and understand their meanings. This creativity allows for the generations of new ideas, thoughts, and concepts. For example, the sentence, "The blue elephant is dancing on the moon," might never have been spoken before, but it is still grammatically correct and understandable. We can continuously create a new combination of words to express different thoughts, showing the limitless nature of language. Next one, displacement. Displacement means that language allows us to talk about things that are not present in the immediate environment or things that have not yet occurred. We can discuss the past, the future, or even abstract concepts that are not directly related to our current situation. For example, if you say, "I will visit Paris next year," you are talking about a future event that isn't happening right now. Similarly, you can discuss past events like "I went to the store yesterday," or abstract concept like freedom or justice. This ability to talk about things outside of the present moment is unique to human. Next one, duality of patterning. Language operates on two levels. The first level consists of meaningless unit like individual sounds or letters, and the second level consists of meaningful units like words or sentence. The individual sounds have no meaning on their own, but when they are combined in specific ways, they create meaning. For example, in English, the sounds ka, a, and t combine two forms of the word cat. These sounds do not carry meaning, but when arranged in a specific order, they forms a word that represents a particular animal. This dual level structure is what allows language to be both simple and complex at the same time. Next one, cultural transmission. It means that language is learned through social interaction and is passed down from one generation to the next. It is not genetically inherent, but instead, it is acquired exposure to others in a social context. For example, a child born to English speaking parents will learn English because they are surrounded by English speakers. Similarly, a child born to French speaking parents will learn French. The language a child learns depends on the culture and community they are raised in, not on their biological inheritance. Next one, multimedia potentials. Language has the potentials to be communicated through multiple medium such as speech, writing, and sign language. This allows language to be versatile and adaptable, enabling communications in different environments. For example, the sentence hello, how are you can be spoke aloud, written down on paper, or communicated through gesture in sign language. This flexibility means that language can be transmitted across various channels, making it adaptable to different forms of communication. Next one, reflexivity. It means that the language can be used to talk about itself. We can use language to describe or analyze its own structure, rules, and properties, making it a tool for reflections and learning. For example, you can say the word apple is a noun, which refers to the word apple and its role in language. In this case, the language is being used to describe the grammatical category of a word. This ability to discuss language itself sets human communications apart from other forms of communication. Next one, interchangeability. It means that within a language community, individuals have the ability to both send and receive messages. This means that anyone can produce speech or written messages and anyone can interpret or understand them. Language allows for bidirectional communications between speakers. For example, in a conversations, one person may ask, "How are you?" and the other person can respond with, "I am doing well, thank you." Both participants can freely switch roles, either asking questions or providing answers. This interchangeability is a fundamental feature of human communication. In conclusion part, these designs features make humans language a unique and adaptable forms of communication, unlike other forms of animal communications which are more limited and fixed. Language is highly flexible, capable of expressing an almost infinite range of thoughts, ideas, and emotions. Together, these features set human language apart as a powerful tool for interaction, creativity, and cognitive development. Let's see the next concept, artificial versus natural language. First one, definition. These are language that have developed organically through human interactions and communications over long periods of time. For example, include widely spoken language like English, Spanish, or Mandarin. In artificial language, these languages are intentionally created by people for specific purpose. They do not evolve naturally but are designed with a clear structure and purpose. For example, include Esperanto, it's created for international communication, and Klingon created for the Star Trek series. Next one, origin. Natural languages evolved over times within societies and culture. They developed spontaneously through human interactions and changed continuously as the speakers adapted to a new circumstance, technologies, and cultural shifts. But in artificial language are deliberately created by individuals or groups. They do not evolve naturally but are designed with specific goals in mind, such as making communication easier, more logical, or more precise. Next one, complexity and structure. In natural languages are often complex with irregularities, expectations, and slang. For example, English has many expectations in its grammar. For example, go versus went, and the meanings of words can shift over time. Naturally, language also contains idioms, slang, and cultural reference that add to their complexity. But in artificial language, it tends to be regular and follow specific logical rules. They are designed to be consistent and reduce ambiguity. For example, Esperanto was created to be a simple with no irregular verbs and a clear grammatical structure, making it easier to learn and use. Next one, purpose and use. In natural languages are used for everyday communication, cultural expressions, and transmission of knowledge. They reflect the way people think, feel, and interact in their social and cultural context. But in artificial languages are often created for specific functional purpose. For example, Esperanto was designed as a universal language to foster international communication. Japan is intended for a logical perception in communications. Some artificial languages are created for functional words like Klingon on Star Trek. Next one, evaluation and change. In natural language change over time, so they evolve as people use them in different ways, and meanings of words, pronunciations and grammar can shift. New words are created, old ones fall out of use, and language adapts to the needs of the speakers. In artificial language are usually fixed or only adjusted intentionally since they are deliberately created, their structure doesn't evolve naturally. Any changes are typically made by the designer to improve functionality or correct preserved flaws rather than through organic community driven changes. Examples of natural language includes widely spoken language like English, Mandarin, Spanish, Arabic, Hindi and French. These languages have evolved over thousands of years and are used by millions or even billions of people. Examples of artificial language includes Esperanto, Klingon and Lojban. These languages were made with a specific purpose or for particular community. Learning a natural language can be challenging because of its irregularities, expectations, slangs, and cultural nuisance. For example, English has many idiomatic expressions, and mastering all the subtleties can be difficult for non native speakers. But in artificial languages are often easier to learn because they are designed with clear, consistent rules. There are no expectations and no exceptions, and everything is logically structured. For instance, Esperanto is considered relatively easy to learn, comprehend to natural language because of its regularity. Next one, cultural significance. Natural languages are deeply tied to the culture, identity and history of the people who spoke them. For example, Spanish is not just a way of communications, it carries the cultural heritage of Spain and Latin America with a specific historical reference, traditions, and embedded in the language. In artificial language generally have limited cultural significance. They may have meanings within the communities that use them, but they are usually designed for practically or creative purpose rather than cultural expression. For example, Esperanto has a small but dedicated community, but it doesn't have the same cultural depth or historical importance as a natural language. Next one, use and technology. Natural languages are used extensively in fields like speech recognition, machine translations, and natural language processing. These technologies allow computers to understand and process human languages, making it possible to develop systems like virtual assistants, translation apps, and sentiment analysis tools. In artificial languages are frequently used in programming and computers. Programming like Java, Python, and C++ are designed to communicate with computers, instructing them on how to perform tasks. These languages have precise syntax and grammar, and they are crucial in software development. In conclusion part, natural languages are complex, evolving systems that carry cultural significance and are used to general communications in human societies. They are full exceptions and cultural reference. In contrast, artificial languages are intentionally designed with clear logical rules and are created for specific purpose, such as facilitating international communications or improving precision in logic. While natural languages are ever changing and deeply embedded in a culture, artificial languages are typically more fixed and serve functional rather than cultural purpose. Let's we see the next concept, human versus animal languages. First one, complexity. Humans have an exceptional ability to express abstract and complex ideas such as justice, freedoms, or even philosophical topics like the meaning of life. Language allows a human to convey these intricate concepts through words, stories, and discussions. For instance, in literature, writers can delve into the complexities of human emotions, relationships, and the human conditions, creating deep nuanced worlds. This ability to explore various dimensions of human experience through language is one of the key features of human communication. But in animal communication, most animals, on the other hand, communicate primarily about basic immediate survival needs. These include warning others of dangers, like a dog barking to alert its owner of an threatening behavior, like a bird's songs to attract a mate. Animal communication doesn't venture into abstract or philosophical territories. It's focused on direct, practical concerns, staying safe, finding food, and reproducing. Next idea, abstract thoughts. Humans can think about and talk about these that aren't immediately present or don't even exist. We can reflect on the past, plan for the future, and even imagine entirely hypothetical scenarios. For example, people can discuss the long term consequences of climate change, predict how society might look in the future, or imagine alternate histories, like what if humans had never discovered fire. This type of abstract thoughts is key to how humans use language to shape their understanding of the world and their place in it. While some animals can think about and react to their environment, they tend to focus on present, immediate concerns. For example, a lion's roar is likely related to asserting its territory or warning other animals to stay away, and a chimpanzee may gesture to indicate it's hungry or wants grooming. These actions are based on current needs or situations and not abstract or hypothetical thoughts. Animals don't typically engage in deep reflections about the past or future. In creativity ideas, humans are highly creative with the language. Not only can we use the existing language, but we can also invert new ones and construct new sentence, even creating entire language for fictional words. For example, people today might create words like digital loneliness to describe a new phenomenon that didn't exist before. Additionally, humans can express complex, abstract emotions through metaphors like feeling blue to describe sadness. The creativity is a unique part of human language. In animal communications tends to follow fixed patterns that they are instinctive rather than creative. For example, while whales may have regional variations in their songs, each whale's songs follows a set patterns that is primarily used for communicate before ponds. These patterns serve a specific practically purpose, such as attracting a mate or maintaining group cohesion, but animals don't invert new forms of communication in the same way humans do. Next one, symbolism. One of the most remarkable features of human language is its ability to use symbols, words or signs that stand for something beyond their immediate physical presence. For example, the word tree represents the actual physical object, but the word freedom represents an idea that doesn't have a direct physical manifestation. Symbols in language can be abstract and represents complex thoughts and concepts. In contrast, animal communications tends to be more direct and less symbolic. For instance, a dog wagging its Tail signals basic emotions like happiness or friendliness, but the tails itself doesn't symbolize a deeper or abstract concept. The communication is a practical relating to the immediate emotion state of the animal that then abstract ideas. In learning concept, humans have an incredible ability to learn language through social interactions. Baby starts by babbling and gradually pick up sounds, words, and eventually the rules of grammar. Language acquisitions is a process that continues throughout life as we learn new words, expressions, and a way to communicate. Humans are able to learn language from their environment and use it to express increasingly complex ideas. While some animals can learn form of communications, they have more limited compared to human. For examples, Wajo the chimpanzee was taught American Sign Language and could use it to express basic thoughts like asking for a banana and showing affections. However, she could not form complex sentences or discuss abstract ideas like humans can. Other animals like dolphins or apes can also learn specific signs or sounds to communicate, but their communication's depth and flexibility of human language. Let's we see the next concept, verbal communication versus non-verbal communication. Verbal communication is all about using words, whether they are spoken or written, to convey a message. It's the most direct way to communicate because you are using a specific language to share your thoughts, ideas, or information. First one is spoken communications. This is a when we talk to each others, it could be in a conversation, a lecture, a debate, or even a presentation. Spoken words are powerfully because they are immediate and can be adjusted based on the situation. For example, when a teacher explains a concept in class, they use words clearly and thoughtfully to make sure students understand. But remember, it's not just the words, they also adjust their tone and pace to make the message clearer or to express emotion. Next one is a written communication. So this involves using written words to communicate. It can be in letter, books, reports, or digital formats like emails or text. Key to written communication is structure, clarity, and organizations. The words you use and how you arrange them will determine how well your message is received. For example, an email to your colleagues might be more formal than a text to your friend. Writing is a great way to communicate when you need to have a permanent record of your messages. But it also requires a more careful organization because the readers can't immediately ask questions like they could in a spoken conversation. Let's we see the non-verbal communication. Now, non-verbal communications is just as important, but instead of using words, we use body language, facial expression, gesture, posture, eye contact, and even tone of voice to send messages. First one is body language. This includes things like how we sit, stand, and move, and the gesture we made. For example, see if someone across their arms during a conversation, so they might be signaling that they are feel uncomfortable, defensive, and closed off. But if they are learning in, it could means they are engaged and interested in what you are saying. Body language often communicates more than the words we speak because it can reveal our true feelings or attitude. Next idea, facial expressions. Our face can express emotions like happiness, sadness, surprise, confusions. Even without saying anything, a smile can show that we are happy or welcoming, while a frown can indicate that something is wrong. When we raise our eyebrows, that can show surprise or curiosity. These facial expressions are universal in many cases, meaning they can communicate the same emotion regardless of communication. Next one is eye contact. Eye contact is another powerful non-verbal cue. Looking someone in the eyes often signals interest, trust, and confidence. If you are have a conversations with someone and they are avoiding eye contact, it might indicate discomfort, shyness, and even dishonesty. On the other hand, if someone maintains eye contact during a conversations, it shows they are engaged and paying attention. Tone of voice can changing the meanings of words you say. For example, the sentence "I'm fine" can sound completely different depending on how you say it. If you say it in a calm, soothing tone, it may means you are genuinely okay. But if you say it in sharp, high-pitched voice, it could suggest frustrations or you are not really fine at all. The tone, pitch, and volumes all add layers to the message. Let's we explore gesture and sign language, both of which are powerful forms of communication, but in different ways. First one is gesture. Gesture or physical movement, especially of the hands, arms, and head, they convey a message without using words. We all use gesture to communicate, so often without even thinking about it. These can be intentionally, like giving a thumbs up, or unintentional, like shaking your hand when you are confused. Gestures are important because they help emphasize or clarify what we are saying, or even replace words entirely in situations where speech isn't possible or needed. Cultural variation in gesture is can be vary widely across cultures, and what may seem like a harmless or positive gestures in one culture can be interpreted as offensive or disrespectful in another. This is why it's important to understand the cultural context when using gesture. First one is thumbs up gesture. In many Western cultures, a thumbs up is seen as a positive gesture, meaning a good job or approvals. However, in some Middle Eastern and Asian countries, the thumbs up gestures can actually be considered rude or offensive, like giving someone the middle finger in the other cultures. In Western cultures, waving is a friendly greeting or farewell gestures, but in some cultures, waving with the hands can means go away or no, which can be a bit confusing if you are not familiar with those meanings. Then other examples of gesture, first one is peace signs. The peace signs where you raise the index and middle fingers in a V shape is often used to represent peace or victory in many cultures. But if the palm is facing inward instead of outward, it can be seen as offensive in some countries. Next one, pointing. Pointing can be used to indicate directions or highlight something, like pointing to an object. However, in certain cultures, pointing directly at a person can be considered rude and accusatory, so it's best to be meaningful of how and where you point. Next one, gesture in communications are often used alongside speech. For examples, when you are explaining something and you use your hands to show how something moves or how big something is, you are using gesture to emphasize your words. But gestures can also stand alone when speech isn't needed, like wave to someone to greet them, or when you strung to show uncertainty. Next one is sign language. Sign language, unlike simple gesture, is to complete language in itself. It's made up of visual gesture, hand movements, facial expressions, and body posture to communicate. People who are deaf or hard of hearing primarily use sign language, but it can also be used by people who have other conditions that make speaking difficult. The key difference between gesture and sign language is that sign language follows specific grammar rules and has its own vocabulary. Just like any spoken language, it's a full developed language with structure and it's used for a wide variety of conversation. So let's we see components of a sign language. Hand shapes and movements. Each signs in sign language is made with the specific hand shapes and movements. For example, so when signing the word hello in American Sign Language, you use a specific hand shape and movement. It is in certain way. The shapes and movements of your hands are key to understand the word you are trying to convey. Next one is facial expressions. Just as the tone of voice adds meaning to spoken language, facial expressions add meanings to sign language. For example, see if you raise your eyebrows while signing, it can indicate that you are asking a question. Eyebrows can indicate seriousness or confusions. These expressions help to provide emotions or clarify the intentions of the signs. Next one, body positioning. How you position your body and hands related torso can also change the meanings of the sign. In sign language is where you place your hands and how you orient your body is just as important as the sign itself. For example, hello to say in ASL, you raise your hands to your forehead like you wouldn't if you are giving a salute. Then move your hand outward. This is a standard greeting in ASL. To say thank you, extend your hands together on one hand and move it away from your chin. Its gesture similar to blowing a kiss, which indicates appreciation or gratitude. Then this sign is made by raising the pinky, index finger and thumb while folding and others two fingers down. Is not just a random gesture. It combines a letter I, pinky, L, thumb and index, and Y, thumbs and pinky from the ASL alphabets, making it a symbol of I love you. Different sign language around the world. It is important to note that sign languages are not universal. Different countries have their own unique versions. For example, American Sign Language ASL is widely used in the United States and parts of Canada. British Sign Language BSL is used in the UK and it's very different from ASL. French Sign Language LSF is used in French and has its own unique structure and each versions of sign language is rich and complete and it's recognized as a legitimate language with its own grammar and rules. Okay, let's break down the difference between language and communication in the way that is easy to understand. First one is language. Language is a structured system of symbols like words or signs that we use to convey meanings. It follows specific rules to help us express complex ideas, thoughts and emotion clearly. Language allows us to communicate in a way that organized and predictable. Language. First one, spoken language. English, Spanish, Chinese, etc. are all examples of spoken language. For instance, in English, the sentence "the dog is running happily" follows grammar rules to communicate a clear message. Each word has a meaning and when put together, they create a meaningful idea. Next one, written language uses symbols to represent sounds or concept. For example, when we write "I am going to the store," we are using written words to communicate a message. Next one is sign language. American Sign Language, for example, is a complete language, but it's not spoken. So it uses gesture, facial expressions, and hand movements to convey meanings. The signs for thank you in ASL involves extending your fingers from your chin, and this gesture is understood by people who use ASL as a form of communication. Next one is communication. Communication is a broader process of exchanging information, ideas or emotion. It doesn't always need a language to happen. While language is one method of communications, there are other ways to communicate that don't necessarily involve words or signs, like language, gesture, facial expressions, and even tone of voice. For examples of communications, first one, non-verbal communication. If someone gives a thumbs up gesture to show approvals, they are communicating without using any words. This type of communications relies on visual cues or body language. Next one, visual communication. A conversation where people exchange words is also communication. For examples, when two friends talk about their day, they are communicating through language. Then mixed communications. In real life, communications often involves both verbal and non-verbal elements. For instance, when a teacher explains a concept using spoken words but also gesture to help the students understand, this is mixed communications, a combination of language and body language. The key difference between language and communication. Language is a structured system of symbols that allows us to create meaningful message. It involves to follow specific rules for grammar and syntax to form sentence or signs. For example, saying I'm happy or signing thank you in ASL. Communication is an overall process of exchanging informations, ideas, or emotions. It involves language but can also include non-verbal methods like gesture, tone of voice, and body language. For example, a smile, a wave, or nod in communications without using words, but these actions still convey a message. Let's see the next concept, the varieties of language, which are different ways people use language based on factors like where they are from, their social groups, the situations they are in, or the purpose of their communications. Understanding these varieties help us see how language is dynamic and flexibility. First one is a dialect. A dialect is a form of a language that is spoken in a specific region or by a particular group of people. Dialects often includes a difference in pronunciation, vocabulary, and grammar. For examples, in British English, the word flat is used to mean an apartment, while in American English, the word apartment is used. Yes, persons from New York might say Yankees with a distinct accent, while Texas might pronounce it differently, showing how accent can change based on region. Next one is a register. A register refers to the level of formality we use when speaking or writing. Depends on who we are speaking to and the situations. We switch between formal and informal registers. For example, formal register, I am pleased to informing you that your applications has been accepted. This is appropriate in professional or official setting. In informal registers, I just wanted to let you know you got in. This is casual and used in everyday conversations with friends or close acquaintances. Next one is slang. Slang refers to informal, often playful or trendy words or phrases that are used within particular groups. Slang can change rapidly and is more commonly in casual setting. For example, cool is slang for something good or impressive. Bay is slang for a significant others or someone's you care. Next one is jargon. Jargon is a specialized set of vocabulary that people from a particular professions or group use. It can be hard for outsiders to understand because it's specific to that field or community. For example, in medicine, words like hypertension, high blood pressures, or biopsy, a tissue sample for testing, are common. In technology, words like RAM, random access memory, and HTML, markup language, are frequently used. Next one is accent. An accent refers to the way words are pronounced. Accent can vary by region, country, and even social groups. The same words can sound very different depending on where you are from. For example, a person from Scotland might pronounce the word car with a strong R sounds, while someone from southern England might pronounce it more soft. Next one is code switching. Code switching happens when a person alternate between two or more language or dialect depending on the situations or the people they are communicating with. This is common in bilingual or multilingual communities. For example, a bilingual person might say, I will be back soon, switching between Spanish and English in a same sentence. Next one, socialite. The socialite refers to the language used by a particular social groups. This variation is often based on the age, gender, occupations, or social class. Different groups use different words or phrases that may not be understood by others outside the group. For example, young people may use the term like lit, exciting or fun, or savage, bold or daring, which might not be familiar to older generation. Thank you viewers. Thanks for watching this video.